everybody, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new here, and welcome back to 31 Days of December, my version of Vlogmas. If you're just joining us now, obviously you have a high interest in UFOs, but I would encourage you to go back through the past videos that have been uploaded before this and see what else I have been talking about throughout this month. Today's video, I'm going to try and make it as short as possible, but I am going to be talking about about the top 5 UFO sightings in Canada. So the first, which is actually going to be number 5, because I'm going to count down my top 5. The first one happened in 1960 in Clan Lake, Northwest Territories. And so this is what happened. June 18th of 1960, a prospector told the Yellowknife RCMP that a month earlier, he and his partner had seen a UFO at Clan Lake, located 30 miles north of Yellowknife. According to a ufologist named Chris Rutowski, the men claimed they saw a hovering object that was about 4 to 6 feet wide, and it hit the surface of the lake. When the RCMP showed up, nothing was found. They could find no evidence of anything ever happening, and basically brushed it off as 2 prospectors that have just spent too much time in the bush. Number 4, right, counting backwards, number 4 is a UFO that was seen in 1967 in Falcon Lake, Manitoba, and it was basically just publicized as the Falcon Lake, Manitoba incident. So what happens is Stefan Michalak claimed that he was burned by one of 2 flying objects which he reportedly came in contact with in May of 1967 near Falcon Lake. Now, ufologists claim that the images that he had of the hospital that were taken in the hospital of the burns on his body were in a grid-like pattern. They were similar to the grid burns that were on his shirt, and they consider it to be one of the most documented UFO stories in Canada, period. There have been 2 books written about this UFO encounter, but there was a skeptic among the bunch, as there always is, who basically went through with a fine-tooth comb and said that these burn marks and what actually happened was not because of a UFO, it was because of alcohol consumption and intoxication, and he must have fallen into a fire or something and done it to himself and just doesn't remember. Basically, it also boiled down to he was a prospector, he was mining for silver ore near the lake at the time, and he probably just kept up making these stories because he wanted nobody else to come and mine near his area. So again, it got boiled down to crazy prospector, doesn't want anybody else being out there or spent too much time in the bush. However, though, the Royal Canadian Mint actually released a $20 silver coin depicting the alleged event as part of its Canada's Unexplained Phenomena series, and it actually has like a little write-up in it. I do have that book somewhere. I actually bought the whole stamp collection with the coin and everything. That's number 4. Number 3 also happened in 1967. I'm learning that this was a very busy year for UFO sightings, apparently. But it was basically boiled down to the Shag Harbor incident in Nova Scotia. Now, apparently in October of 1967, there was a crash of some sort of an unidentified flying object. It was investigated by the RCMP, it was investigated by the Coast Guard, it was investigated by the government and the US. I'm just going to read like their little blurb about it, I guess. So it says, the night of October 4th, 1967, at about 11:20 p.m. Atlantic Daylight Time, it was reported that something had crashed into the waters of Shag Harbor. At least 11 people saw a low-flying lit object headed towards the harbor. Multiple witnesses reported hearing a whistling sound like a bomb, and then a whoosh, and finally a loud bang. The object was never officially identified and therefore referred to as a UFO in the Government of Canada documents. The Canadian military became involved in a subsequent rescue and recovery effort. The initial report was made by a local resident and a few of his friends. They were driving through Shag Harbor when they saw a large object descending into the waters of the harbor. Attaining a better vantage point, they saw an object floating 250 to 300 meters off the shore of the waters of Shag Harbor. And he contacted RCMP that he had seen a large airplane or a small airliner that had crashed into the waters. So it's never been identified what it actually is. And who knows? Maybe it was a UFO, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just an airplane, but I think it's strange that if it was just an airplane, why they wouldn't just say that. Number 2 is an incident that happened January 1st of 1969 in Prince George, British Columbia. And this incident was actually seen by 3 separate people at least. These are just the ones that have reported it. But they claimed to have seen a spherical object that emanated a yellow-orange light that was floating between 2,000 to 10,000 feet off the ground. And it was seen in various parts of Prince George. These people all had no idea that anybody else had called it in. And I think it's kind of cool that it was something that was seen by more than one person, but was seen all over this place. Prince George is not that big, so it just makes it all the more valid when you think about those factors keying into each other. Now, the final and my top 1 UFO sighting is actually one of my favorites, and it's mostly because it's close to home. So my number 1 in my top 5 UFO sightings in Canada is one of the largest and most well-known UFO sightings to date. It was seen by over 22 people that they are aware of in 1996, and it happened near and around Fox Lake here in the Yukon. So basically, what it boiled down to is this. December 11th, 1996, along a 216-kilometer stretch of road, there occurred 3 major spots of sightings, and basically everybody reported the exact same thing. There were a total of 22 people on the scene, and all but one of the witnesses remain to wish anonymous. They have interviewed all of them. They have taken drawings of what they saw. They have actually taken them out to these areas, talked to them, asked what they saw, to explain what they saw. This area of the highway, people have reported seeing UFOs for years. And I mean a lot longer than like just 1996. Like, there have been UFOs spotted as recently as like 5 years ago. And as early on as like the 60s, this area, for whatever reason, is very popular for UFO sightings. And it's all, a lot of the time, just from the stories that I've heard and that I've read, the exact same object more than once over the years. So whatever it is that's visiting this area obviously keeps coming back. For whatever reason, nobody knows, obviously, but it keeps coming back. It keeps coming to this area specifically, and it kind of makes you wonder what is going on. So I'll just read out. They've got like a little blurb about each one. So the Fox Lake witnesses. So these are the people who were at Fox Lake, and in this area, there were 6 people at the same time who saw this thing. So at the same time as this was occurring, witnesses saw from the southern end of Fox Lake. The simultaneous observations of the UFO by these 4 witnesses provided excellent data to the size. The other 2 were driving through the area and saw it on the same night from the road. Then there was the Pelly Crossing eyewitness accounts. So the Pelly Crossing area had 7 witnesses, and it says that a trapper had a very close encounter with a UFO that he estimated to be 3/4 of a mile long. So close to him that he actually had to turn his head to view the entire UFO. This witness is the only one that has decided to come forward with his identity. And at the same time as he was having his sighting, a brother and a sister were traveling along the highway near the village and noticed a huge and long row of lights moving over the hills. They pulled over and they compared the length of the UFO to the length of the Big Dipper that was right above it, and the same length. So when you think about the Big Dipper in the sky as we see it, that is about how big this thing was that they were seeing at the time. The observation allowed for a more accurate estimation of the size. At the same time, 4 women were taking an evening course, and at the college in the community, they were out for a break at 8:30 p.m. They went out onto the deck of the small 1-story building and observed the UFO as well, and said that it moved over the village very slowly before it disappeared behind the hills towards the north. Then you take the place that is in the middle of these 2 places. 9 witnesses in CarMax were 4 gentlemen who were traveling in a truck that pulled over to watch the UFO fly slowly over the village, and at one point went behind a hill and came out on the other side. One of the witnesses recalled waiting a very long time when the leading light of the UFO appeared to when the tail end of the UFO came into view. The final 5 that saw this UFO sighting was a family of 5 in the village of CarMax, and they actually watched the UFO from their living room window. Evolution of this went, I guess, is that first everybody saw it in Fox Lake, and it slowly traveled up the highway over CarMax and then over Pelly and disappeared for the rest of the night. So whatever it was doing, it was taking its sweet time to pass over these little villages and do whatever it was doing. Those are my top 5 Canadian UFO sightings. Of course, there are lots more than that, and I'm sure I will do another video in the future. But for now, those are the few that I wanted to talk about. If you guys have seen any UFOs, I would love to hear your stories, or if there are any UFO sightings that you think I should check out, please drop the links to articles or videos in the comments below. Give the video a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, turn on the notifications, because I do upload a video every single day for the rest of this month, and then back to regular programming in January. Bye, guys.